My home is embattled by desertification and drought, migration and conflict. Restoring the land is a matter of survival. It's up to us to create an African dream.
We're talking about revitalizing the ecosystem, the economy of communities and villages. The future generation will hold us accountable.
If people can't work their land, millions across the region will be forced to migrate.
Le convoyeur va te donner à un autre convoyeur. Tu es déjà vendu à ce convoyeur sans te rendre compte. J'ai eu 4 amis qui ont pris la balle.
رأي كم تجرينا من بقول له زي زريا مدرش بعدنا نصر عليه أجاكلنا بلوتاكين بتشا.
The Great Green Wall, it's not just about planting trees. It has to become a movement from the whole continent, from the whole world.
When there were no trees, the wind used to dig up and erode the soil, but it is more protected now. The leaves provide compost and the canopy increases the humidity of the environment and offers some shade, so there is less need for a lot of watering. Before, there was widespread drought and hunger here. Then the tree planting took place and then a garden for the women to grow crops. It has really helped the people. Now we have 200 women working on it, and they are being paid well. Before, people used to migrate, but nowadays they just follow the line of the Great Green Wall for jobs. They no longer leave.
Before we didn't have any work, but now we have jobs, and economically it's good. The Great Green Wall is very useful to us because we grow many vegetables, and now we can buy produce more cheaply. I want to continue to work, and for our kids to work on the Great Green Wall so that they can make a future for themselves.
to thank President Ruto for convening this event and prioritizing this important work. I started work on climate change over 2 decades ago after I left my full-time work at Microsoft, and I was focusing on fighting poverty and fighting diseases. When I visited Africa, I saw 2 things. First was how climate is already affecting agricultural output, although they've contributed almost nothing to these greenhouse gas emissions because they're dependent on farming, they're near the equator, they're already experiencing more damages than other countries. But I also saw the energy shortage, and we need Africa to have lots and lots of energy to develop their economies. It's fantastic that the African researchers and companies are now thinking about how they can reduce their emissions and continue to grow their economies. Breakthrough Energy is the organization I created to help with climate mitigation. The goal is to innovate, to make the cost of being clean far, far less. And that means we can reduce the emissions and avoid this temperature increase that has such a negative impact. Late last year, I was in a farm in eastern Kenya, and they were experiencing drought. And so I talked through with Mary, who was the farmer, how the new seeds and new approaches were helping her. She had drought-tolerant seeds that made a very big difference. She also had chickens that were bred so they could be more heat tolerant. And because of those new tools that were empowering her, she was expecting to do well despite the tough climate challenge that she faces. And so this is just one example, but by helping with better tools, allowing farmers like her, who are very innovative, to do new things, we can minimize these damages. I've seen there's African researchers work on innovations in fertilizer, making sure these new crops fit their ecosystems and getting those seeds out, getting them approved, and making sure they're low cost. So we do need to invest, whether it's in the innovation or the deployment, getting resources against those, including the promised support from rich countries, will be very, very important. The global goal on adaptation, which will be finalized at COP, should lead to more investment to help Africa deal with these challenges. And so we need partnerships. We need government, philanthropists, businesses to come together to focus on climate adaptation. Yes, we need mitigation, but adaptation doesn't get the energy it deserves. And so I'm excited that you've come together. I'm excited to work with all of you to solve this problem. So thank you for your efforts.
We are now going to look at how climate finance differs from regular finance. Climate finance refers to local, national, and transnational financing drawn from public or private sources of financing that seeks specifically to support climate change mitigation and adaptation actions. This type of finance differs from regular finance because it is specific to projects or activities that are responding to climate change. Climate finance can be accessed for projects aiming to reduce greenhouse gas emissions or vulnerability, and projects aimed at increasing resilience of human and ecological systems. Climate finance has also emerged as an independent source of finance for climate action because significantly reducing greenhouse gas emissions requires large-scale investments. Now that we are familiar with the concepts of climate finance, we'll next look at how it differs from green finance and sustainable finance. Climate finance is often used interchangeably with green finance or sustainable finance. However, each of these concepts are considerably different. Green finance, for starters, is any structured financial activity that has been created to ensure a better environmental outcome. It could be a product or service that has been created to be more environmentally friendly, or general financial operations that promote the eco-friendly practices. Green finance considers what is commonly known as the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profits. That is socially inclusive, environmentally sound, and financially feasible. Sustainable finance, on the other hand, is more commonly associated with environmental, social, and governance factors to assess the long-term sustainability of companies and projects. Environmental factors could include the use of sustainable resources. Social factors could include human and animal rights, as well as consumer protection and diverse hiring practices. Governance factors could refer to management, employee relations, and compensation practices of organizations. So while green finance and sustainable finance might fall under the same umbrella, climate finance takes on a much more direct approach to climate change mitigation and adaptation, and requires more than a business-as-usual approach. One can always make a distinction on climate finance, as it includes specific action on mitigation or adaptation measures. Climate financing also has certain reporting requirements that aim to generate positive, measurable, social and environmental impact alongside a financial return. So, to summarize, climate finance is a subset of conventional finance. It is still considered to be an investment as it considers the risks, costs, and benefits of the climate action intervention. But for an investment to qualify for climate finance, proof of climate impact beyond business as usual is generally required. This provision is often difficult to quantify and can sometimes create complex, burdensome, and often expensive application and reporting requirements. But doing what's necessary to access these funds also presents a huge opportunity for economic growth, improved competitiveness, cleaner air, conservation of ecosystems and resources, and increased security for municipalities.